since I started this business, I'm a big fan of like making a ton of money and no one knowing my name. Like, I don't want any publicity. This is my first podcast for a reason. I'm not searching this out, right? I'm sure if I would have asked around, I could have been on we've done enough things to where I could have, talked to a few people. But the last like 6 months, for sure, I saw so many online gurus for Airbnb selling the wrong stuff, and it drove me a little insane. And so there was a lot of people that, they get a few listings, 2 or 3 listings, and they think that they have enough information to teach other people. And they're right to an extent, right? They do have a few things that they could teach a couple other people, but they have not seen enough, right? They've only had maybe 30 reservations, 100 reservations, guests stay with them. You don't know what can happen when a pipe breaks or when the plumbing backs up or someone, that brings a gun to the home. Like, there's so many dramatic things that can happen with a stay.
Welcome back to the podcast. We have Ryan on the call today. Let's just see here. Ryan, thanks for jumping on. Where are you calling in from today?
Palos Verdes Estates in California.
Awesome. I was checking out JayzStays, and positioning around guest experiences really stood out. What's been the main focus for you lately?
Sure. Well, just so you know, it is, and bless you.
Thank you.
It's JayzStays. So we do get that when people do say Jay-Z or pronounce it all funny. Jayz is the combination of my 2 daughters' names, James and Hayes. And just not to skip ahead here, but the reason we never intended on this being a public name. It was an LLC. We started as just like an internal family investment LLC when we were starting to build Airbnb. So anyways, yeah, so it's JayzStays. And what was the question?
What's been the main focus for you lately with this business?
We are focused on Airbnb design right now. We have been managing and having our own properties for about 4.5 years. And about 1.5 years ago, we started teaching people how to manage them online. And now we have gone, in the last few months, we've gone nationwide with offering design services, either virtually or full, white glove done for you. So that is a big focus of ours right now, is on the design side and just helping people build awesome places that are going to drive a ton of revenue. On the management side, we are actually winding that down a little bit to where we aren't taking on any more clients, and we are looking to keep a few and move on from that bit and kind of manage our own.
Can you share a bit about your role at JayzStays and how the business is structured today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the co-owner. My wife is the other owner as well. My role right now is basically marketing and sales for the company. It's more of the front end things and content and ads and all that. So dealing with leads, lead flow, automations.
Cool. So what do you use for automations?
So I use Go High Level for most of our stuff. I have someone actually building out a funnel for me right now. We are doing a design giveaway we've been doing for the last few months, to where we offer a free design for anyone's Airbnb that wins. It's a raffle, basically. So we're running an ad for that. But as leads come in, not everyone schedules their appointment and they can't qualify without getting the appointment taken care of. So just making sure no one gets lost in the cracks.
How did you originally get into the short-term rentals?
So I had a real estate flipping company that I owned. I was wholesaling, flipping, bringing on rentals, any of that stuff. And so I had that business with another partner. My wife was working a W-2. I always tell this story that she would get mad at me when I had to take a phone call during dinner time or deal with, if a lead came in, I had to take the call, and it was basically getting pulled away from the family a little bit. And so I wanted her to get into the entrepreneur space to kind of learn what that was like, how it's basically a 24/7 job that doesn't just turn off, after 5. So I gave her a few options. We looked at Airbnb, of course. Then we looked at apartment syndications was something that we were looking at too. And there was something else. Can't remember it right now. Give her a few options. We looked at different programs. She picked Airbnb. And so with my past business ownership, I knew that I wanted to pay for speed and learn everything I could when we first started. And so before we even stepped foot at all, I found 2 different courses we could take, purchase those, learned as much as we could. And then we started with arbitrage. which are you familiar with arbitrage?
Oh yeah, I've done it before as well.
Yeah. So got an apartment like literally 3 weeks later. And then within 3 months we had five. And so we were off to the races. We did it right though. We had our software figured out. We had everything online configured properly, but then we also hired a designer to do all of our places done up correctly. And they outpaced everyone in the market. And so we started getting asked questions, asked for help. People asked us to manage theirs, to build theirs. And so we then brought on that designer actually full time to our staff and designed about 30 properties that were local to where we were at the time. And that this was in Omaha, Nebraska. Well, I don't live there anymore currently, but I did at the time, and we were off to the races. And so at one point we were managing about 50 properties, most of them being the bigger, sleep 16 plus.
Wow, that's huge. What does a typical work week look like for you now as a business grows?
It's different right now because we are transitioning more into, we are getting out of the management side, honestly, because anyone that's in Airbnb at all, do you have an Airbnb?
No, I have a house,
Okay. All right.
which I'm fully renting out. So it's a long-term rental, not a short-term
Okay.
rental.
Well, if you deal with Airbnb, you know that the guests can be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And so they are already hard to deal with. But then on top of that, managing for other people, other owners, especially that I've never managed before, have unrealistic expectations about results, especially with the ever-changing market and landscape of Airbnb. And if we didn't design their place and we didn't build everything out, we have less control. We don't have both hands on the wheel. And so we are getting away from that and more just helping people do it themselves so we can build our processes in their systems. We can help them get the right softwares. We can design their places the right way. That's going to deliver a higher nightly rate. So that transition right now has been more, right now my weeks are consumed with meeting with a ton of these giveaway people. Like we have about, right now it's about 100 people apply a month for the design giveaway. So we have to meet with those people. I have to figure out though more of the marketing side, getting the ads more efficient, a better, cost per lead. And then we started doing content about 30 days ago. And so we are looking at content managers, content specialists that can help with our scripts, with our editing. It's just been a big burden on us for, especially the editing side can be a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can tell. Do you have any interesting stories from, realistic expectations, more on the crazy and insane side? Just out of curiosity, I'm sure we all have those stories.
I mean, like we just recently had a neighbor that was concerned about a guest for no reason walk into the driveway and look into the cars of the guests that were staying there. And so there's just, we've had people throw parties though too. We had one where they were putting out a flyer for the whole city trying to get, I think they were trying to get like 400 people to show up. And luckily we got a hold of that flyer and stopped that. On the owner side, it's really just, there's no crazy stories with it. 5 years ago, Airbnb was a lot easier. So a lot of these Airbnbs worked just fine 5 years ago. And every year there's been more and more that pop up and their property has become more and more outdated or not up to, nowadays it's all boutique hotels, right? Like that's what it needs to feel like. It needs to have that professional feeling to it. And so what used to work doesn't work anymore, but you take over a property that was working and it's not working as well anymore. It's hard to show indications of what the market's done versus we are optimizing everything. We were spending thousands of dollars a month on software, on pricing software, just squeezing every ounce of juice we can out of any property. But, we can't force more people to travel. No matter how nice a place is, we're not going to force more people to travel to that location. And with more and more places that are popping up and they're nicer and nicer, it's just going to be more and more difficult for people. And that's where, like I said, on the design side, we have people applying like crazy because, people are suffering right now. People are selling their properties. The middle of the pack isn't making any money. They're getting squeezed really hard. If you have an average Airbnb, you are most likely not profitable anymore. And especially if you bought it in the last couple of years with the interest rates and with the price of homes, it just doesn't make any sense to do it that way. So I tell people every day to not do it. Don't get an Airbnb or sell your property because You either jump in 2 feet or don't do it at all.
Yeah. So what do you suggest? Basically, either buying it for cash or at least half down, so you don't have to pay a lot of crazy interest, or just don't get in it. I'm assuming, right?
Well, no, you can get a traditional loan and be profitable. There's a couple factors that matter though. It's location, right? So any location that you normally think of when you think of Airbnb is probably not where you want to go. So there's lots of locations that are lesser known, that are beautiful areas of the country that people do travel with. Like people locally love that area or people know it well, and there's less competition. But it doesn't really, either way, if you don't build it out properly. And the real key right now, I think, is either being super small, like a 1-bedroom house, or a place that can sleep 20 guests. I lean more on the side that place is going to sleep 20, and then you have to start thinking of the amenities that are going to pull people there. So data is a huge driver on all of these decisions, especially amenity wise. Whether you need a hot tub, a pickleball court, a pool, a sauna, a game room, pool table, whatever the amenities are going to be, that is like the foundational stuff you need to figure out. And if you can make that significant investment into that area or into that home, it can still be very, very profitable. There's places that are going to, produce a 30% return. But if you go buy a house and you leave the current furniture in it that looks like it's staged, if you don't buy those amenities, if you can't afford the rest of the actual design, like we're doing a house in Scottsdale right now, and I think they bought it for over $1 million, but there's going to be another like 350 grand put into it. And so that's some rehab, paint and such, right? But we're building out a pickleball court, we're building out a splash pad, building out a mini putt. So you have to be willing to and understand that that other part is coming besides your down payment, right? The down payment's a big chunk, but then there is significant investment after that. The nice thing is you can usually refi a lot of that money back out. So we always recommend getting it reappraised after the work is done. The place is all designed and ready to go. But yeah, you have to jump in with both feet with the design. Otherwise, like I said, don't bother. There's places that I'm looking in Broken Bow right now that are selling because they weren't doing very well. They were doing like 120 grand a year, which most places that's fantastic. But if the house is selling for $1 million plus, that's not a good ratio. A good rule of thumb is you want the revenue to be at least 20% of what the cost of the home is. That's a good place to be, that at least you're going to cash flow. I'd like it to be even higher than that. And there's places that, like I said, they're selling for $1 million, $1.2 million, doing 120 a year. Not a good ratio. But those same places, if you put 250 grand into them, paint some walls, update a couple things, update to the light fixtures in the home, add the amenities. And it's not just adding a hot tub or just adding a pickleball court. You have to dress up everything else around it. You have to add the string lights around it, the seating around it, whatever decorations, any other features to that backyard that's going to help really sell that experience for the guests when they're booking, right? Sell that photo that's going to be taken. And so guests will see that and envision themselves staying there. You do all that, those same places with that investment are doing 300 grand in the same location. And so the same home, same cost of the house, doing wildly different, doing triple the amount, and it's strictly just design.
300K is a lot, that's for sure. What major shifts are you seeing right now in the short-term rental space?
I mean, it's the same shifts we've been seeing for the last year and a half. I mean, like I said, everything is a boutique hotel. We've been like that since we started, where, we do white linens throughout. We do nothing name brand in the home. Every soap dispenser it just says soap on it, or hand wash or shampoo. Like it feels like a hotel would. We're not putting Tide Pods by the washer. They're in their own little jar, which just delivers a little bit higher end feel to the place. And that is just kind of what we're seeing across the country is an expectation from a guest that they want that. And what we're seeing as well is, like I said, the ones in the middle are suffering, and average Airbnb revenue is down the last 2 years, year over year, every year. I think it's going to continue right now. I don't know if it'll ever come back up for the average Airbnb, but what we're seeing is for the high end ones. And I don't mean high end by like just a fancy home. It's the places that are really dressed up right. Those are actually seeing increases. We actually saw personally a 33% increase last year on our Airbnbs from the year before. And so what's happening is there's like almost a vacuum, right? Getting pulled either up or down. And so people are either going less expensive and just finding this super small places that are cheap, or they're extending themselves and booking the more expensive places. Or maybe instead of 2 vacations a year where they'd be in the middle, they're doing 1 big vacation, or splitting a home with a family. And so where they can afford 2-3 grand a night. So that's really, I think, the changes that are happening. I think that's going to continue for a while and that's where, like I said, you want to be is either the big places or the small places. I wouldn't do a 3-bedroom, 2-bath is most likely not going to do well.
So you need a bigger place, basically, and more fancy. Fire market. Understandable.
Yeah.
Are you seeing more pressure or margins, operations, or guest experience, or all three?
Am I seeing more what?
Are you seeing more pressure on margins, operations, or guest experience, or all three?
I don't know. The margins, like I said, we've seen some properties get squeezed. We haven't really seen much change with the guest experience on the guest side. I mean, we've had over 6,000 stays at this point. We're at a 4.9 on Airbnb, which is very, very high for that many stays in that short period. So we've always been good at the guest experience. I haven't really seen that change. I think more people are expecting our guest experience, though. That's what's changed with the market. But the margins, like I said, on some of the homes that used to work that weren't designed by us, weren't built by us, those ones are definitely, and we're seeing the margins get squeezed pretty bad to where, like I said, they're either we're moving on or the owner's moving on. Like it's not going to work.
Makes sense. Let's see here. What's working really well for JayzStays right now?
Well, what's working really well is designing people's homes nationwide. So mouse is on something. So the design side's just been a huge hit. We didn't market it. We were always by referral essentially only. It was all through word of mouth. So we literally started marketing in December, and it's become very big, but also like I offer a free Q&A listing review call every week that I do every Wednesday. So tomorrow at 1 p.m. I'll do one Eastern time. And what I've noticed let me back up. Since I started this business, I'm a big fan of like making a ton of money and no one knowing my name. Like I don't want any publicity. This is my first podcast for a reason. I'm not searching this out, right? I'm sure if I would have asked around, I could have been on we've done enough things to where I could have, talked to a few people. But the last like 6 months, for sure, I saw so many online gurus for Airbnb selling the wrong stuff, and it drove me a little insane. And so there was a lot of people that, they get a few listings, 2 or 3 listings, and they think that they have enough information to teach other people. And they're right to an extent, right? They do have a few things that they could teach a couple other people, but they have not seen enough, right? They've only had maybe 30 reservations, 100 reservations, guests stay with them. You don't know what can happen when a pipe breaks or when the plumbing backs up or someone, that brings a gun to the home. Like there's so many dramatic things that can happen with a stay. There's stuff that can happen where things break with automations. There is just not enough information there to really know. And people are selling things that don't move the needle enough. And people are paying a lot of money for those things. And so I always like SEO being one of them. People sell, Airbnb SEO, and that's great. There's a purpose to SEO for sure, but it's not the main, it's not the foundational piece. It's not going to move the needle very much. It will, but very little. Meanwhile, whereas if you have $1 to put towards something, you put that towards design, and that moves the needle pretty dramatically. Or if you put it towards even optimizing your listing online, meaning you put the photos in the right order, you get your title clearer. You get your description that looks better. It's more attractive. It's in bullet points. You get your pricing on the right pricing software, and you get your pricing strategy right. Those things move the needle as well. And to where I gave the example of a cake last week on my call, but where on a cake, like design is the actual cake. It's the chocolate cake inside, right? The listing optimization is the icing on the top. And then things like SEO and some other things that are being sold by people, those are like the decorations, the sprinkles on top. So we need to worry about the cake first I don't even remember what the initial question you were asking, but what was the question you just asked?
What's working really well for JayzStays right now?
The design. So anyway, I was seeing people selling the sprinkles basically, right? So I started being more active with meeting people, talking to people, offering some help. Did a ton of it for free in the beginning, just trying to help people and understand what people needed. And That's why I offer this free call. We put all of our stuff onto Instagram now too, of like just information that's helpful. What I've seen though is there's so many people that I think the concept is super simple because I've been doing it for a while, that they're so grateful for that information. And that's super exciting for me. And like the amount of thank yous I get on helping people on that side, on the design side, on fixing their listing or dealing with a bad guest, that those thank yous, like I get exponentially more than I ever did by managing people's properties, right? The management side can be very thankless. It's always, could we have made them more money? Could we have had less maintenance costs? Like there's always never enough feeling there, to where on this side, it's awesome.
Yep. Okay. Now, on the flip side, where do the things feel more manual or harder than they should be?
Well, we're still learning the advertisement side and the content side. So the content's very, very manual. That's why we are looking for more people to help. We're hiring a few VAs right now that are going to help with certain design aspects, sourcing, other things that, some of the labor side of things. But the content and the ads, we're not professionals in that aspect, where we don't know it inside and out. And so we are looking for some possible help there. But mainly it's just a learning curve right now that we don't know what good looks like yet.
Which is a good segue. Are you using any automation like AI to get this done, to get to the level that you want to, and to save some time instead of hiring people?
I mean, Go High Level obviously saves me a ton of time, right? With their automations and texting people about appointments or the countdown to when the design giveaway is right now. I mean, ChatGPT is basically my best friend at this point. I think everyone's on ChatGPT or something, some kind of AI. Great at writing or giving me an idea of copy, giving me an idea for funnels, what they should look like, patterns, doing research on other people that maybe not my niche, but other people that are selling something, a service like this, and what that looks like that whole process. But yeah, we use Slack, we use ChatGPT, Go High Level, and then some design, software.
The thing which has been blowing my mind recently, are you familiar with Clawbot?
I'm not.
Compared to ChatGPT, Clawbot is a software you install on your machine, which has access to your entire machine, which is kind of dangerous because it has access to your entire machine and all the files on it. And it works like a real person. So you can teach it skills. For example, like a matrix, I know Kung Fu. So you teach it video design, coding, copywriting, and you give it a task. And it works on a task overnight. It gets you the result done, basically. It's like ChatGPT, which is recursive, so to say. And one thing which I've seen being done is video generation. So you give it a website, it scrapes it for a logo, text, content, offers, everything, basically. You give it more information. For example, I want to replicate this video, I want somebody to teach about that. And it literally puts together a video for you. So
Yeah, that's crazy.
Pretty mind-blowing. But
Yeah, we met with we've been meeting with some content directors and such, that like big companies that will take it over for us. And one of them will take a bunch of our videos and information about us and basically upload it to AI, whatever AI they're using. Obviously they'll say it's their proprietary AI, and then it'll essentially create our avatar. And so when it's writing scripts or anything else, it's going to come out in our, like how we would word something in our voice.
Would it actually put your like a face of a person talking? Because that's another thing which has been around for a while from HeyGen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to do AI videos with any of this, not yet at least. I feel like it still looks a little too good, but I'm not sure. That's as far as we got with that conversation.
The questions that I had. What are the most time-consuming parts of running your operations right now?
My wife runs most of the operations on the management side, most of the operations in general. So that would be more of like her questions on the actual operations. They said my time is really just figuring out how to get leads, where they're coming from, how to track them, understanding our numbers. Are we getting a return on the ad spend? All of that stuff. Just understanding that better.
Where do guests most often get confused, frustrated, or needing of support?
We don't have a ton of guests that get confused, but I'm trying to think of people I've helped that have had this issue. So we have automated messages that go out that we implement for people that we help too. And we've fine-tuned them over the years. To deliver a better review, because Airbnb specifically, the review system's kind of screwy. You know, a 5-star is good, a 4-star is bad. And that's the only place in the world that that works, right? Whereas everywhere else, like 4 stars is still good. And so communicating that psychology to the guests and making sure that they're aware that a 5-star is basically 5-star is like a satisfied stay. It's not exceptional. It's not blowing your mind. It's everything was good. So that has helped a lot. But also, you know, I think it's important to communicate any issues with the property ahead of time, right? Get ahead of any issues if you have construction going on in the neighborhood. If you have maybe like a stove that doesn't light properly, or something funky with the way something works, if you can get it communicated ahead of time, it's just if you can deliver expectations, basically, right? Ahead of time, people are much happier with the stay. That works with any business, any place you ever go, right? If you know something's going to be hard ahead of time and it ends up being kind of hard, you're in a good mood. If you think it's going to be easy going into it and it's kind of hard, you're in a bad mood. So it's just expectations.
Okay. And how much of the guest journey happens before they ever arrive on site?
I mean, they like when I always tell people what pictures to take and what is important to show in the photos, I think most of the journey is happening, you know, anytime you go on vacation, there's studies done that show like basically you enjoy looking forward to the vacation more than the actual vacation, right? Everyone does. And so if you can plan something farther away, it's actually like good for you because you get to look forward to it for a long time and have that feeling for a long time. Most of the time, something you've looked forward to going wherever, it never quite lives up to that and what it was going to be in your head. In the simple way, like I always pack my gym clothes every single time I go on vacation, even if I rarely actually end up going to the gym. But in your head, the trip is going to go different than you think it's going to go. And so I think a lot of that is happening just internally with the guests of looking forward to this stay. And the better your photos are of what that stay is going to deliver, of the amenities, how great the place looks, just professional photos in general. Like I think a lot of that's going to happen with them. But we also, you know, we message them a couple weeks before their stay, telling them that we're excited for them to come to, you know, whatever town, and all that is helpful as well. And usually they're pretty excited too.
Awesome. Where do you want JayzStays to be 6 to 12 months from now?
I mean, we want to do 100 designs this year. We definitely can do it. We need to build out the design side. We have one main designer that does most of the stuff right now, to where she has helpers, but we're going to need a few more designers, junior designers, some admin help, building out floor plans, sourcing, stuff like that. But we want to get more of our own properties too, more of these large homes in other areas of the country. But we want, you know, a year from now, I'm hoping that with our content, with our ability to help people, that we can be one of the leaders in the space of building Airbnbs.
That's pretty much most of the questions that I had. I mean, I had a couple more, but we're getting close to the minute. Well, thank you a lot for sharing your perspective. That's been very helpful. I'll get it edited and I'll send you the completed and edited podcast sometime next week.
Okay. Yeah. Cool, man. Hope this was helpful for you.
Oh, it definitely was. Thanks a lot.
Good.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. See ya.
Okay. Bye-bye.